Hi, welcome to Ready Rent Racing. We're going to have a look at day 2 of Goodwood. A couple of tips there, and also one for later at Sandown. Now this is a preview for Wednesday the 2nd of August, just checking the dates, losing track of my days a little bit here. Putting this video out there a bit earlier than ideal, to be honest, and that's just due to time constraints on my side with time to study, family life, work commitments and everything whatsoever. So in an ideal world you'd want to see day 1, see what the ground's like, see what the weather's like before making such kind of recommendations and tips. But I think we are where we are. I think we know we're going to be looking at good to soft at best this week, more realistically probably soft, and I think there's even more rain forecast for Wednesday, so it's being worked upon as being soft ground basically. So looking ahead to the first race then. So the first race we're going to have a look at is the 150, which is a 114 Class 2 handicap, full of exposed 3-year-olds, really competitive race, really interesting race. The market leader is going to be Amleto by the looks of things for the William Haggers team. Very impressive at Chester it was, wasn't it? Yeah, Chester last time. Went through soft ground well from a really nice family. You know, that mare's produced lots of high class horses, so it's got to be well handicapped. I think it's certainly going to be there or thereabouts tomorrow. And I've got it as joint favourite at the 4-1 mark. So the horse it beat Paddy the Squire's probably not a badly handicapped horse. It's run well on a couple of occasions since. I think it might have run yesterday actually and was placed maybe second. So I think the form's got a solid enough look to it. However, I do think that the one I've got as joint favourite does have slightly better form, in my opinion, and that's the Charlie Appleby trained Tagabawa. Now this is going to be my selection for this race. So the angle I'm coming from here with Tagabawa, I did really like its run at Royal Ascot. They set a strong pace that day. It was on the front end of that strong pace, or close towards the front end of that strong pace. You've only got to look at the front four who kind of took the placings in that. It was won by Desert Hero, who come from off that strong pace. Valiant King was second off that strong pace. Cloudbreaker I think might have been third off the strong pace, and then Bertinelli was fourth. So these horses have really had this race set up much better for them than kind of where Tagabawa's ended up being in the run of that race. So I thought that run off 97 finishing 6th was a really good solid look. I'd mark that race, that form up a little bit off that run. And then following that, the horse went to the July Festival at Newmarket. Now that turned out to be a bit of a strange race the way that was run in the end. They dropped it down to 10 furlongs. I'm not saying Will Buick got this wrong as such. I mean, he's a fantastic jockey, and all jockeys have to make judgment calls and split scenarios, and even the best jockeys get things slightly wrong. But I just got the feeling he got racing on this horse too early this day. I think it was about 3.5 furlongs from home, and I think the thinking behind it was it stays for we'll get a roll in early. July course maybe just suit through front runners a little bit. We'll get a roll in early and she'll see it out, or the horse will see it out to the line. It picked up really well initially, and I think it probably got to the front, but for some reason or other it just didn't see that race out, and I can't help but think it was that it just got rolling a bit too early with that step down in trip. So again, I think on the face of it, I don't think that run was as bad as it looked. It was maybe beaten more than you would in terms of distance than you would ideally want, but it's had a pound come off, and I think going back up to 12 furlongs is the way to go here tomorrow. But I think they're going to ride it with a little bit more patience. I can see them kind of Will Buick sat tracking in about 4th and maybe coming a furlong and a half from home to kind of pick up and get there with hopefully with a bit in hand. So that's my kind of thinking on this horse tomorrow. Now it's not had soft ground yet, but you look at this horse's pedigree. He's out of Tassaday, had decent form on soft ground. Tassaday's out of Naef was a soft ground horse, so there's no reason why this horse shouldn't appreciate soft ground here that we're looking at on Wednesday. And as I say, I just think it represents a bit of value compared with Amleto. I've got them both around the 4-1 mark. I think you can get 6s on Tagabawa. There are others in there with bits and pieces of form, and I think if you kind of selecting Tagabawa, you've got to have an interest in Westerton and Uriah Moore, but I just feel Tagabawa is a better horse, and I think it's got more to come. I'll be surprised if this horse doesn't end up moving into group company in the very near future, and I think 6-1 tomorrow represents a bit of value, and that would be my tip and recommendation for this race. Okay, moving on to the 4:45 at Goodwood. Just checking my notes here. That's Class 2 fillies handicap over 10 furlongs. Again, interesting race for the 3-year-olds who have got really kind of upward profile look to them. Lightly raced, improving. I think probably the two I've got at the head of the market here is the Rafe Beckett train La Isla Mujeres. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but that's what I'm going to go with. And Queen Regent for John Gosden. I've probably got a slight preference for Queen Regent of those two. It's hard not to like what this horse has done to date on the all-weather. The run last time we got beat by Value Added at Wolverhampton, he was unlucky that day. I can't see how it doesn't reverse the form with Value Added based on that run. He's 5 or 6 lengths behind coming around that bend at Wolverhampton, and he makes that ground up and just ends up kind of not having enough time to get there really. But I think Wolverhampton is the kind of track where position is key at Wolverhampton, and I just don't think that he was close enough to where he needed to be on that day. So I think this horse looks well handicapped. There's soft ground in the pedigree as well, and the Beckett horse La Isla Mujeres has already won on soft ground. So I think those two really set a really solid kind of position at the head of the market here. However, there is one horse in here who I think is overpriced, and I have backed this horse already, and that would be the William Haggis train Persist. Now I've got her in around about I've got 17-2 against her here in my book, and I think she's 14-1 at the minute, so I think 14-1 represents a bit of value. I think the reason she's 14-1 is because you've got a lot of sexy 3-year-olds in there who take up a lot of the market, understandably, and on the face of it you look at Persist and you kind of think, well, maybe she hasn't really progressed. But and to be fair, there's probably a little bit of credence in that as well, but I do think there are some other circumstances here. She caught my Ascot last year at the Royal Meet. I thought she ran really well that day and looked like the kind of horse who would improve and appreciate a step up to 10 furlongs. Should have probably won the next race at Carlisle. A bit disappointed it didn't win that, if I'm totally honest, and that form hasn't maybe stacked up to be brilliant either. So you can throw question marks against the form, but she's run decent enough race in most of those races last season. She's still on a very, very similar mark. She finally got a win in Haydock, where she won with a degree of comfort. I mean, Angels Landon, who she beat at neck, is probably nothing special in fairness, although she was given it £9 or £10 to beat it on that day. But if you look at this horse's pedigree, the mare, I think it's Persuasive, I'm not got it in front of me, she improved with age. Her peak performances were as a 4-year-old. Persist is coming into a 4-year-old season. The run at Newcastle was probably a little bit disappointing on the face of it. She was a little bit slow away, but Newcastle's not everybody's course, so I can kind of almost forgive her that one. I would have liked it to be a little bit closer, but I know I'm probably not making the strongest case for this horse, but I do just think she is well handicapped, and I think she is going to improve as a 4-year-old. There's a bit of soft ground in the pedigree. I think that run last time will probably put a spot on for here. I also like the angle that they've not gone hunting for black type with her. You see it quite often with fillies rated around the kind of 80 to 90 mark, where they end up pitching them into listed races, Group 3s, trying to find that black type, knowing that they can't really win them, or they're going to need extreme kind of maybe scenarios to work in their favour for them to win them. But they're just looking to try and pick up a 3rd place or something, and obviously it really adds value to the horse from a breeding perspective. But I like the fact they've not done this with her, which tells me that they think that there's certainly work and scope for improvement off this kind of handicap mark that she's on tomorrow. I just think she's going to run a decent race. I think she, as I say, I think she's overpriced. I've backed her each way. I think you can get 4 places with certain bookies in this market. I've backed her. I've actually took 5 places. I took a little bit less on the price to go with 5 places. So, depending on what you can get on with, and probably a bit of license to make your own call on that in terms of how many places you want to take. But I just think she's gonna run a decent race here tomorrow, and she would be my recommendation for the 4:45. And then finally, there's one at Sandown caught my eye in the 8:02. It's another class. It's another fillies handicap, actually, class 5. Now, I think my angle into this race, I think the the favourite should be the John Butler horse. There's no prices up on this at this moment in time, so it's a case of waiting and seeing what the market kind of opens up at in this race. But I think the John Butler train, I think it's measured moments. I've not got the full name of the horse here actually. I think she'll be favourite, and probably rightly so. She's been progressive these last couple of races, stepping up in trip. I thought the Leicester performance was pretty good. So yeah, I've opened it up around 130 favourite here, and I'd be surprised if she's not the favourite, and probably the one to beat in fairness. And I'm more than happy to go with that. I think if you look at some of the others, there are some interlinked form lines here. I thought Bernadine run well last time at Ascot, but that was on quite soft ground, and I thought again they probably the ones at the front maybe did a little bit too much, and she kind of, I wouldn't say picked up the pieces, that's not fair, but she stayed on well. Going an extra furlong here, she'll probably like that, so she's a threat. L8's definitely well handicapped, but I don't think she's the easiest to catch right. I was fine with L8. She has a habit of when she looks like she's in a race that she's not quite capable of winning, she tends to run well, and then when you think she's got a good chance of winning, she tends to maybe slightly underperform. But she's not had really a lot of races on soft ground, and you could argue that her career best was on good to soft, so she's probably a threat. But yeah, I think there's probably better improved horses in here than maybe than the lady, even though she's handicapped definitely to be dangerous here. The top two, Prenup and D-Day, they've both got bits and pieces of chances. I've got them around the 7 or 8 to 1 mark. I think I'm not sure Prenup's going to want 9 furlongs on good to soft ground, but it's in a grade that it's more than capable of winning at. But onto the one that I am interested in, I just got a feeling we might get a price on this horse tomorrow, and it's the Ed Dunlop trained Chorus Line. Now, 3 runs as a 2-year-old, showed a modicum of ability without really anything special, and then came into handicap company this season as a 3-year-old. I really liked her win at Leicester. I thought she did that really well in the end. That form has worked out not too bad either. There's winners in behind from that race, and I thought she finished and hit the line quite hard and without actually being fully extended. So that was a good run. You could say the next two maybe were a little bit disappointed on the face of it, but my angle here is I think what she liked at Leicester was that stiff finish. So although that was 7 furlongs and she's actually gone up to a mile since and maybe disappointed, I think that stiff finish was what she liked and really brought her into her own. Haydock's quite flat, can happen all a bit quick around Haydock, and that would maybe be the excuse I would give her for the next run, although it wasn't a terrible run. And then the Chepstow run again wasn't the best run, but at the same time, again, I think the angle here is getting her back on a right-handed stiff kind of stiff finish track at Sandown. I think it's going to love the step up in trip. I think 9 furlongs is going to be ideal for her at this stage. I think she's going to want further. I think to 10 furlongs and maybe even up to a mile and a half eventually. Now, this horse hasn't encountered any soft ground. Now, it's only good to soft at Sandown, but Sandown always does seem to keep a bit of moisture and a bit of cut in their ground, probably because I think it's the same course used throughout the jump seasons as well. Obviously, they move the rail around, but generally you're running on the same course effectively. So it does tend to ride a little bit softer than maybe a lot of other places. So when you know that there's good to soft in there is going to be some juice in there, and again I think this filly's going to like this, even though we've got no evidence of that on the form. If you look into her pedigree, she's by territory as they enjoy soft ground, and again they stay a bit of a trip. The mare has produced a horse called, I think it was Manichaean, who has winning form over 10 furlongs on soft ground, and I think even maybe up to a mile and a half. Coman's from that pedigree. Coman's a bit of an all-rounder, but she, that horse won on soft ground as well. So there's a lot to like about this horse tomorrow. I think the step up in trip, the track, the potential for the soft ground, I think they're all things that you can put a tick next to the 2 of those boxes for sure. The soft ground maybe not as 100%, but I still think she will enjoy that. And I think if you look at her form, she's definitely well handicapped based on that Leicester win. I just think she might get a little bit overlooked here. I've got her about 6 to 1 in the market. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they open more up about 8s or 9s. I mean, it's a 9-runner race. I think if you're getting 8 or 9 to 1 on this horse in a 9-runner race, I think you just back it each way. I think she's gonna run well, and I think if she is where I've got her, or maybe even a bit short, if I'm incorrect on that, she doesn't get missed in the market, then I'm more than prepared to back her outright to win at 6-1. So that would be my recommendation in this chorus line. I'd say 6-7-1 or lower, back out. Well, not lower actually. 6 would probably be the minimal I'd want, but 6-7-1. Back her outright. I think if you are getting 8s or above, I'd probably go each way in a 9-runner race like this. And I'm quite hopeful of a good run from her tomorrow. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. I'll try and put some further tips and recommendations out later this week. Bit of a busy week this week with work and other various things, kids on holiday and what have you. But yeah, it's a big week at Goodwood, so I'll try and get some other previews out when I can. So just to recap, 3 recommendations for tomorrow at Goodwood then. Tagabauer in the 150 outright win. Persist in the 445 each way, and in the 802 at Sandown chorus line, but it's a case of wait and see the prices on this one, potentially each way, or as I say, around about the 6-7-1 mark, maybe on the outright win. Okay, good luck, and yeah, good luck with your selections today, or if anybody is following me, let's hope we can get off to a good start. Alright, thanks for your time, cheers, bye bye.